Hello and welcome to today's video. This is our December wrap up. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I've read throughout the course of December. There are 18 books total, which does make December second best of the year for amount of books read, but it's joint second. It is joint with March. But yeah, it's 18 books total, and that was a total of 7,443 pages, which, I mean, yeah, sounds like a hell of a lot to me, so I'm very happy with it. And honestly, I had a pretty good reading month. It wasn't exactly how I planned it to go, but I ended up with a lot of good books. Okay, so I had 1 2.5 star and 2 3 stars, but everything else was 4 stars or more. So really good month. There's lots of books to talk about. Honestly, this is probably not going to be as detailed as most of my monthly wrap-ups, just because December was so busy for me. Like, this is all my reading journal consists of. It's literally a picture of the book and the star rating. So I don't really have all of my thoughts and feelings down and easy to access. So obviously anything that comes to the top of my head as I'm talking about the books, I will mention. But this isn't planned, this isn't, you know, as structured as I would normally like it to be. Normally I've at least got my initial thoughts as soon as I finish the book wrote down, but we don't have that this month, so we're just gonna wait and see how this goes. So let's just get into the books. First up, we have Amari and the Great Game. This is the second book in the Amari and the Night Brothers series, which I do believe is called the Supernatural Investigation series, and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. For me, it wasn't as good as book 1. Like, book 1 was just so amazing. Like, it truly blew me out of the water. It like made the best list of that year that I read it. This was a really good, solid book. I would recommend it to, well, honestly, if you enjoyed book 1, you're going to enjoy this. I still think it was really good. It just wasn't as impactful and didn't hit me as much as book 1 did, but I would still recommend it to absolutely anyone who enjoyed book 1, anyone who likes middle grade, and like, honestly, like any child that's in the age range, I would imagine will love this just as much as book 1. It is more the fact that I feel like book 1 in this series really, you know, it was a middle grade book, but anyone, like, I can't imagine anyone not loving it. Whereas this one, it just felt a little bit more middle grade. That's not a negative at all. Like, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It aimed at the audience it was meant to be for. I just didn't quite enjoy it quite as much, but yeah, still absolutely amazing. We learnt so much more in this one than we did in book 1, and we met with a lot of things. I don't know what's spoilers, what's not. Well, it's book 2, so everything's spoilers really. All I will say is I'm really happy with how it went. I'm very intrigued by the ending, and I will definitely be picking up book 3. Then I read a little book called Galatea. This is by Madeline Miller, and it is a very short story. I read it through Scribd, which is now called Everand. They've like rebranded, so it is now Everand. So if I do mention Everand, it's what used to be Scribd. And yeah, it was, I think, about 35-40 pages. It was really tiny, but I gave it 4.5 stars. It was absolutely amazing. It's a Greek myth retelling, but from a perspective that you don't normally see the original Greek myth from. I find it very impactful, very important, and I'm really glad that I read it. And as someone who wasn't familiar with the original myth, I followed along very easily, kept up, and could figure out what was going on. So yeah, 4.5 stars. It was really good. I don't want to say anything because it was so short, and if you're already familiar with like the Greek myths, then like you'd probably figure it out quite quickly, but as someone who isn't, I was really pleasantly surprised. And honestly, reading this book has made me feel better about getting around to picking up Madeline Miller's other works. I do own A Song of Achilles, and I would really like to read Circe as well, but previously I found them quite intimidating. But honestly, after reading Galatea, I really feel like I could do that. Like, they are books that I could really enjoy. I don't find them as intimidating now. So yeah, it was a really solid, good read for me. Then I read Glint. This is the second book in the Plated Prisoner series. So the Plated Prisoner series starts with Guild being book 1, and this is book 2, Glint. And again, I gave it 4.5 stars. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was very different from book 1. It was very different in tone. We're still dealing with the difficulties from book 1, but I feel like we really started to see growth in our main character in this one, which, like, from my perspective, we really needed. So yeah, we started to see growth from our main character, and I still feel like we need to see a lot more growth in the books to come, but I'm glad with the start of the process and the start of the main character's real journey, I would say. And yeah, I enjoyed how it was slow, but it was very introspective, and I feel like it was really what was needed after book one. Book one, I didn't understand why we were seeing everything we saw. It was like, this really better be important to the rest of the series, because if not, it was just a massive trauma dump. But like, honestly, even having just read this one, I can see that it's really going to weave in and really make decisions and certain things difficult for our main character. And there's also a twist right at the end of book two that I did not see come in. I had like an inkling, like, oh, something seems a bit weird here, I'm not really sure what's going on, like why this thing's happening like this. And then the twist happened and I was like, well, I wouldn't have guessed that. But that happened, and I can't wait to pick up book 3. Then I eventually finished Rage and Ruin. This is the second book in, I think it's called the Harbinger series. I gave it 2.5 stars. To be honest, I just didn't really vibe with it. This one took a much more preachy tone than book one did. I don't know. I really enjoyed book one of this series. I don't remember what rating I gave it, but I remember enjoying it. Book two I read half of and I just wasn't getting it, so I put it down, and then I picked it back up and finished it. I think I had about 2 hours left, and honestly it was just fine, but it's 2.5 stars. It wasn't bad technically, I just don't think it's for me anymore. It definitely read quite young. I didn't really understand or care about a lot of the problems and issues our main characters were having, and for that reason I don't know if I'm going to pick up the final book in the series or not, if I'm just going to leave it, because I don't know if it's worth potentially just reading another mediocre book for. So I don't know. Right now I don't really feel any reason to pick up the next book, but you never know. Then I read The Bridge Kingdom. This is the first book in a new series, and I gave it 3.5 stars, but this was a really difficult one to rate for me. I had so much fun. I had so much fun with this book. Like, it was easy to follow, easy to get behind our characters, and just easy to go along with. However, I didn't really care until the last maybe 10 pages about picking up any further books. I was just like, yeah, okay, that was a fun time, like shit's hit the fan, but I don't really care what's happening. And the last 10 pages really like set in motion the next book, and I'm a bit like, I'm tempted to pick it up, but it didn't feel fantasy. Look, I know that this is a fantasy book, it's fantasy romance, and I know it is a fantasy world technically, but it just didn't feel it. Like, honestly, like the things we're seeing, it was another world, I can understand that, but if it is fantasy, it's not the sort of fantasy I normally read. It was really not noticeable, except for a few maybe like inventions that wouldn't have worked if there wasn't a magical element. I don't know, it was a weird one. I enjoyed it, but I don't know why. Yeah, okay, I enjoyed it, but I don't know why, and I don't know if I want to continue on. I feel like I might. I do believe that the audiobooks are just like freely available, I believe. I haven't actually checked into it. The Bridge Kingdom was freely available, that I could find. But yeah, I don't know, I'll make a decision at some point. Yeah, this one I feel weird about. I enjoyed it, I don't know why. Then I finished my reread of House of Sky and Breath. This is for preparation for the 3rd book coming out in this series. I really enjoyed it, I had a good time. I gave it 5 stars. It was really, really solid. There's a lot going on. I don't know if I needed the reread for this one. There were definitely things I'd forgot, but I don't know how important they're going to be in the next one, or if they're going to be like on hold for a bit. I really don't know, but I feel like all the main points, or at least the main points around our main characters, I had remembered. Whereas like last month or the month before, I came away after my reread of book 1 being very glad that I reread it, because there was a lot I forgot. This one, I'm like, it was a fun time. Like, I had a fun time rereading it, but I don't actually know if it was necessary. But I'm still glad I did. I still had a good time, and I definitely do feel prepared to go into book 3. So I guess it did what I desired of it. Then I eventually finished Zodiac Academy Heartless Sky. This was one that I had 5% left on Kindle, and my Kindle Unlimited subscription was coming to an end. I was just, anything I didn't finish I wasn't going to worry with, and I was 95% of the way through. So I did eventually finish it. I feel like I would have liked it more if I'd have read it all at once. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was still really solid. I just don't feel like I fully got the experience out of it, and I've basically decided that although I really enjoy Zodiac Academy, reading them kind of feels like a bit of a fever dream. Like, I really don't remember that much of them. I think I started reading Zodiac Academy to like get me out of a reading slump, and I think I just read like 3 or 4 back to back. I just really don't remember them that well. I was staying up super late to read them. I was just chilling. I don't know. I'm gonna finish it. I'm glad I caught up, but it's one of those where it's like, the story's really good, the characters are really good, the plot's really good. I probably left too long between starting it and finishing it to fully get the impact. Then I read Archangel's Legion. I think this is the 6th book in this series. Yep, 6th book in the series. I enjoyed it. We are following characters that we've already followed in previous books, and I feel like, in my opinion, they're the most boring characters. So like, it was good. I gave it 4 stars. It was fun, but I am hopeful that in one of the books soon we'll change perspectives again, because I just feel like some of the characters are so fun and so weird and so interesting to read from. If this book was given from a different character's perspective, I could have maybe enjoyed it more. Oh my gosh. And then probably the most exciting thing is I'm probably ruining, right, I'm ruining the next video that I'm doing here, but my next video is going to be my favourite books of the year, and my favourite series of the year is the Lady of Darkness series, and I started to reread of it. I actually started to reread on audio because the first 3 books were available on Scribd, and I was like, do you know what, I'll just read those 3. They're going to be my chill nighttime wind down books. I already know what's going on, but I really like love this world and these characters, and I was loving my reread so much I even got myself copies of all the books. So yeah, I do not own the books as well, so I will be doing a physical reread at some point during 2024 of all of the books in this series, because I just need to. But yeah, I reread Lady of Darkness, book 1. It was 5 stars. Like, amazing, impeccable, like, so many things. This is my favourite series of 2023, and this is book 1 in that series. Book 1 is so weird because it's so different to the rest of the series. I really had a great time. I enjoyed my reread. There were so many things that I forgot. There were so many characters that reading book 1 I felt a certain way about, and I was like, no, like, I know I'm going to feel different about these characters. Like, oh, like, I know what's going on here. And yeah, I just had a great time even on a reread, and I don't know what the next series to beat this one out is going to be. I do have a different book, I won't tell you what, but a different book in my top book of the year spot, and that will be a series eventually, but they're coming out very slowly, so maybe that one could one day take over, but I truly do not know what could take over this right now. Like, so amazing. Then I read Ballad for Sophie. This is a very lovely graphic novel with a very lovely art style. Let me show you some of the pages if I can. So yeah, just such a stunning art style, so many things to see, and the story was so interesting. It really shocked me, it really inspired me, and it did a lot of things that I didn't see coming, even though it was quite a simplistic story. There were definitely points where I thought certain things about different characters, but at no point did I ever 100% hit the mark. And yeah, if you're looking for a really lovely contemporary graphic novel with a lot of meaning behind the story, I would definitely recommend this one. Then I also reread book 2 of the Lady of Darkness series. This is Lady of Shadows. 5 stars, amazing. I know I haven't given a synopsis of these books. I'll probably put on the screen the synopsis for book 1, because I don't think I can describe it better than that, and I don't want to risk spoilers. And yeah, I feel like having read all the books, I feel like my knowledge could potentially accidentally give spoilers, so I don't want to do that. But yeah, that was again 5 stars. Then I read this poetry book. This is Brand New Ancients by K. Tempest, and honestly it was so good. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars in the end. Like, it wasn't perfect for me, but I read along physically with this whilst watching the author perform it. So great. I definitely am gonna, like, every poetry book I own, I'm definitely gonna be like searching on YouTube for the author performing them first, because it was such a great way to do it. I really understood the voice and how the poem was meant to be perceived, because this is just one big poem. It's like a full story, and yeah, I am so glad I read this, and I will definitely be picking up more of their poetry, just like our next book. This is Running Upon the Wires. I'm not sure if this is their first book or not. I don't think it is. No, it isn't. But yeah, this is another poetry collection by them, and I rated this one 3 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy it as much, and I felt like going through it and reading it, there was just a lot less that I was just like really, I don't know how to describe it, because for me reading poetry is such an emotional thing. Like, reading poetry, you want it to hit you, and there's just a lot less in here than I would like that did hit me. It was, honestly, off the top of my head I couldn't tell you a percentage, but it felt like 3 stars emotionally how it hit me. That's why I'm I always and ah about rating poetry, but I have decided I'm going to, because these ratings are mainly for me. But I just feel like poetry is such a personal thing that like the rating really depends on personal. Then I read Shady Hollow. This is our book club pick for December. I will link the discussion video up above. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I rated it 4 stars in the end, but even though it's only 4 stars, it's still amazing. Like 4 stars is a really good rating for me. It just means it wasn't like perfect perfection. And in terms of the mystery and like cozy mystery books that I've read, I would put this behind the Thursday Murder Club series, but except for that, it would take the top spot. So yeah, really good time. I don't like saying much about this book. It's just like a cozy murder mystery type vibe. The best way I can think to describe it is the Thursday Murder Club meets Zootopia meets Gilmore Girls. It's a murder mystery. All of our characters are animals, and it's in a small town. If that sounds like fun to you, then I feel like you'd probably enjoy it. Then I also reread Lady of Ashes. This is the 3rd book in the Lady of Darkness series, and once again it got 5 stars. I don't know any way that I'd rate these books lower than 5 stars, honestly. I am so excited to continue picking up the author's work and continue reading more stuff they put out. I have read the 1st book of a new series by them and I've really enjoyed it. Not quite as much as Lady of Darkness, but like Lady of Darkness was so fit for me that that's not that surprising. And I do believe they've got another book coming out this year, so yeah, really excited. But yeah, read Lady of Ashes, gave it 5 stars. 3rd book, everything really picks up, the pace really gets going, and we really start understanding more of what this series is about. Okay, workmen have started doing work next door, so I'm going to try and get through these last 3 as quickly as possible. Apologies, but this is the only time I've got to film. So this is Before Your Memory Fades. This is the 3rd book in the Before Your Coffee Get Cold series. I gave this 3 stars. It was a good book. Like, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was fine. But I feel like the messaging was really heavy-handed, and oftentimes it was messaging that I didn't really agree with, and I just don't feel like it hit the same as the first 2 books in this series. We changed location. We changed most of our characters, and it just didn't have those same magical vibes that the first 2 books gave me. It was still decent, it just wasn't magical. Like, it didn't feel the same. Then I finished my reread of The Travelling Cat Chronicles. I read this when I was like, I don't know, like a teenager. I had never read it since. This for a very long time was the only book that ever made me cry, and it's still the only book that's ever made me like bawl. And it did again on a reread. It hit just as hard. It potentially hit even harder because I own cats of my own now. It was just amazing. I can't say any way that I wouldn't give this 5 stars. Like, it was absolute perfection. I normally don't include rereads in my best books videos and best books lists, but hint hint, you might be seeing an exception. Yeah, 5 stars, amazing. Just from the cat's perspective, we're following a big road trip. It's lovely, it's sweet, there's so much more going on than you realise at the start of it, and yeah, I sobbed, and I'm really not a crier, so yeah, it really tug at your heartstrings type of book. And the last book I read of the year was The Shadow Cabinet. I gave this 4.5 stars. There's no ladder right outside our window, so yeah, 4.5 stars, absolutely amazing. You will see me react to the very ending of this in my New Year's Eve vlog that will be coming in 2 videos time, and I really just need to wrap this video up. So yes, I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. This was all of the books that I read in December. Please do the video like if you like it, subscribe to see more content like this, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!